The invisible guest theory says that basically when you walk into a house party, you're an invisible guest. You and your mind might feel like you are the spotlight, that all eyes are on you. You might feel that way. And a lot of people, I
Right.
think, especially if you're introverted, you do feel that way. But the invisible guest theory basically says that everybody else is so wrapped up in their own mind and their own thoughts that they don't even know you're there. They might talk to you, but they're talking and thinking about, their drive to the party, what their kids need to do tomorrow, whether or not they'll be home by 9 to watch a show. They're thinking, oh, this food stinks. This food's good. They're so lost in their own mind that you are an invisible guest at that party. And where I think this matters a lot from a stressful work environment situation is the majority of people sitting in that meeting, one, they might not even be present in the meeting because they're so wrapped up in, their kid has an assignment due later that week, school, there's something wrong with their car, their furnace, whatever it might be. They're so wrapped up in their own thoughts that they're not even in the meeting room. They're sitting there physically, but not emotionally or mentally. But then also for you to speak up, they're also so cashed out and checked out that they might not even remember what you said. And if anything, it should empower us to say, listen, all eyes aren't on me 99% of the time. This
Hmm.
stress that I'm feeling is self-inflicted. How can I march through that?
I love that. I have not heard of that, but I am definitely going to steal it and use it.
Go for it.
Something we talk a lot about in our work is this concept of not taking things personally. And when you hear it, you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds great and simple and easy. But if you pay attention, like for the next week, pay attention to how often you are taking different interactions and people's reactions in those situations personally, it's going to be mind blowing because that is, as humans, like we're very self focused. And so everything must be about us. And if we can do the work to let go of that and broaden the possibilities, like maybe it is about you, maybe that is true, but you don't know unless you go have a conversation with that person and find that out. Meanwhile, most people are just sitting here ruminating about how terrible this other person is because of, how they were attacking them in the meeting. And it's really has nothing to do with them. To your point, people have a lot on their plates these days, professionally and also personally. They all meld together. And so that reaction or that behavior that you're getting from people in your different interactions throughout the day, like it often has to do with all of that stuff and not with you. But the problem is that we make it about us, then we ruminate, then we make up a story about the person, like, oh, he's such a jerk and da 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 da. And then our next interaction with the person is flavored with that thinking about Brad being a jerk. And so now I'm going to be short with you because I think you're a jerk and you were a jerk to me in that meeting. And then you're going to be like, Ashley, wow, she really is petty. And then you're going to be, so you can see how it just like snowballs and
Yeah.
creates these conflicts in the workplace. Whereas, again, kind of tapping into our courage, if we just go to the person and say, hey, Brad, like, is there something I'm missing here? Because it felt a little like what happened in that interaction and find out the truth or even just go, you know what? I know Brad. Like we've worked together for a long time. I'm betting that there's something else going on for him because that's not usually how he reacts to these things. But we have to be the one that interrupts that automatic, like making it about myself.
How do we do that? Or how do you propose we get started in doing that? Because that sounds in practice very easy, but in actual execution seems incredibly difficult.
It is. It is difficult. Difficult's not impossible. It's and similarly I say it's simple, but simple doesn't always mean easy. And it really is, you said the word practice, it's a
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
And it really is about slowing down and taking a pause. It's about being super aware of the narratives that do pop up in your head throughout the day, the interpretations you make, especially of the people who you're interacting with and just kind of asking yourself, is that true? Do I have the full story? What else might be going on? Making a commitment to more generous assumptions of people's beliefs, their behaviors. I used to have a post it note on my computer that just said pause. And I've worked with a lot of people coaching and workshops and asked them or kind of invited them to do the same, just put a pause reminder somewhere. And they're like, that is the most life changing thing.
Yeah.
So it's simple, but we forget. Like I was listening to, I think, a recent episode of yours where you were talking about the forgetting curve and how we forget an astronomical, I forget the percentage that you named, but it's a lot. It's a high percentage of the things we learn we forget. So we need those like visual reminders, putting that pause in, committing to it as a team is really helpful too. So, being able to hold one another accountable, because sometimes we can see or we can hear people going to that place. You might come to me and say, I just had this conversation with so and
Mhm.
so. And if we've made this kind of collective commitment to each other that we're going to call out when we see or hear one another possibly going down this like negative interpretation or this assumption that everything is, taking things personally,
Yeah.
then I can say to you, "Hey, Brad, like, I'm going to pause you for a moment. Like, I'm hearing a little bit an assumption that so and so's actions were, personally aimed at you. Is there
Yeah.
something else that might be going on?" So that can be really helpful too, to kind of approach it as a team.
How do I want to articulate this? I saw it's going to sound silly, but I saw an Instagram post a little while ago about taking a pause, and I thought it was really good. It's from a relationship standpoint, right? And
Mhm.
it's basically saying like when they get into a fight with their spouse, it comes down to who's the first person to say, "Hey, we're best friends, right? Like, can we just pump the brakes and pause for a second? Like, I know you're frustrated, but we need to pump the brakes and like we're best friends. We've been doing this for a really long time. So let's just hang on and breathe for a second and just pause. Because yes, you're frustrated, I'm frustrated, whatever it might be. It's neither here nor there. But we're best friends. And we need to remember that because what's going
Yeah.
on right here is not productive.
Yeah.
So two, well, I don't know why I went down that path, but you triggered a thought and I thought I'd share. Pause and pausing is something that I've been trying to be incredibly mindful of lately in a world where I feel like I move 1,000 miles an hour from meeting to meeting to meeting to I work from home to then going to, drop the kids off at school, pick them up from school and daycare, go back into dad mode, work mode, back into training, whether it's for a run or working out, whatever it might be, pausing and just saying, okay, give yourself 2 minutes to just
Hmm.
reset. And that doesn't mean look at your phone because you're going to be bored. Just pause is something, again, interesting that you brought that up that I've been trying to be incredibly intentional about. Easier said than done, but I find I'm more productive and more just all around a better person when I do that.
Yeah. And you're naming one of the challenges that so many people face, which is we occupy a lot of different roles and wear different hats. And throughout the day, you're having to switch all the time. And something that I like to ask myself when I'm going into different calls, meetings, settings is who does this person or who do these folks need me to be in this call, in this next meeting? Who do I need to be? And that can really help to just make that conscious shift that you're talking about. But I love that you brought up that piece about relationships because ultimately, yes, that piece of advice might have been about a like a life partnership or more romantic partnership, but relationships are relationships. And when you think about the people who you work with, whether those are your colleagues, your clients, other stakeholders, they're all relationships. And so a
100%.
lot of the same principles that apply to marriages or parenting, like you can apply those to your working relationships. And when you were talking about that, what I hear is alignment. And we work with people all the time on this is where can you find alignment? And alignment doesn't mean you have to agree, but it's that recognition of what you just shared. Like, we are best friends. And so at work, it might be like, we want to bring the greatest product to market. Like, we can align on that. We might have differences about the execution and how that happens, but let's keep that in focus as we work through those disagreements so that it doesn't become such a battle and we lose sight of those things that brought us together.